Welcome to Daily Diaries. Today, I'm so excited to introduce our guest, Katie Vincent. She is not just a two-time Olympic medalist, she's a powerhouse in sprint canoe, proving time and time again that she's one of the fiercest competitors on the water. Her ability to dominate across multiple events, push her limits, and rise to every challenge makes her an absolute force in the sport and an all-around badass. But what makes Katie truly special isn't just her medals or achievements. It's who she is at her core. Despite all her success, she has never wavered in staying true to herself. She competes with authenticity, leads with integrity, and embodies the kind of resilience that young athletes need to see in their mentors and heroes. She proves that you don't have to change who you are to succeed at the highest level. You just have to be yourself and put in the work. In today's conversation, we'll dive into her journey to the Olympics, the challenges and triumphs of being a multi-event athlete, and the mindset that keeps her. Pardon me as I fangirl. Welcome, Katie Vincent. Yay!
Yay, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Appreciate that.
Of course. We'll get started with some fun questions to break the ice, not between you and I, but between us and the audience. So, in 30 seconds, describe sport to someone who may not know what it is.
My sport is sprint canoe. The easiest way to describe it is if the canoe you use at your cottage is a Toyota Prius, the boats and the style of canoeing you use is Formula One boats and speed. So that's the simplest way to describe it. And yeah, we go on one knee. It's kind of like track. We're just go down 8 lanes for flat water, go as fast as you can. First person across the finish line wins. The boats and techniques we used are kind of the high end of sport and speed and endurance and all the above.
Fill in the blank. Blank is the hardest part of your sport. And here's why.
I would say that learning my sport is the hardest part of your sport. It'll take you probably 5 years before you are anywhere near a level that could compete internationally. Pretty much every canoer on our team started when they were under 12. I would say under 14 for sure. So I would say the hardest part is the learning curve, like your fitness and your strength. Like those are all things you can get better at pretty quickly with the right coaching, but learning how to canoe with proper technique is definitely the hardest part for sure.
Any pre-race rituals or things that you have to have in order?
For me, not really. Just like I have a good warm-up routine. So, like in a pre-race ritual, like I do a similar routine before every race or competition. So just making sure that's dialed in, nothing too quirky, just sort of maybe your basic mobility and activation stuff, a couple breathing exercises just to calm the nerves, but also just trying to keep it light and easy going with my teammates and around. Just having fun with it, I think, is the most important part. So superstition is to not be superstitious.
That leads me to ask, we've talked to a couple people where the word fun kind of comes in to play. And I feel as though there's this perception that when you're at that level and you're a multi-medalist and you're intense and your focus and your performance is everything. I mean, I've seen you around your teammates and you're so chill and you're so easygoing as a third party unrelated member. But when you're going out on the water, like how would you describe your state before a competition?
On the better days, it's as chill as you'd picture it to be. And I think that's something I worked on over time and experimented with different things at different points and, being the intense headphones in and all these things. But it just kind of came back to, when you're younger and you're doing your sport, like a sport like ours, and you're going out and racing and, in between our races, we sit under our tent and hang out with our teammates and you're just having a good time and laughing and making jokes. But why not do that at the Olympics or World Championships or World Cup and just keep it the same vibe? And yeah, when you get out there and it's like, yeah, I'm sweating through my shirt for 3 hours before the final, but I can laugh about it. I peed 8 times, but still smiling. All I could think about before the final was like sweating through the sweater. And I was like, I can't wait to stop anxious sweating. The Olympics is a long week when you're competing every day, just waiting to get out there. Oh man. Yeah.
Okay. The next one, 2 truths and a lie. So if you could give me 2 truths and 1 lie, and I will guess which one is the lie. It could be about anything.
Okay. This one I had to think about because, yeah, we'll talk about it later. Okay. So I have a teammate right now that I've been paddling for as long as they've been alive. I have once won money on a game show, and I have been to South Africa.
I really want to say the teammate that was born when you started paddling, I believe you said?
Yeah.
Is that the lie?
No, that one's the truth. We discovered it today. It was a real moment when we decided she was 18 years and I started paddling 18 years ago. And her birthday's around the same day I would have joined the canoe club. So big moments today. Yeah. But she's great. Yeah, it's great. It's all good. That one's the truth. Yeah, exactly.
So then you didn't go. Were you on a game show?
No, that one was false. And I stole from somebody who that was their truth on this, and I thought it was a good one.
That is a good one. What
Yeah,
games
and
were
I was
they?
like, yeah, cash cab. It's like a very believable, like you just get into a taxi in the city and then you're in the show. And so I stole it from someone's truth. It's my lie.
Well, good multi-usage.
Wait, no, I gave you two lies. I've never been to South Africa.
Katie,
Just realized I was like, wow, I did great. I really threw you. I'm so sorry. That's my bad. I'm a bad liar, so I think I got caught up in it trying to really. You only had one truth. I'm sorry.
and I still failed. That's okay.
Sorry about that.
You'll probably end up in South Africa at some point, surely.
Yeah, it's on the bucket list for sure.
Well, you as an athlete from like young Katie to now Katie. So you started in Mississauga. You were a young girl starting to paddle in a very cold place. What would you tell that little girl to like brace herself for or get ready for or even be excited about?
For me, I would say it in reverse, where I would want like younger me to tell older me to just keep having fun and not be too caught up in the experience. I think like the hardships happen and the resilience like you build over time. But if I could go back to 15-year-old me who just loved training and competing and making the national team, yeah, like that was like the best days. I guess it would just be reminding older me to stick with that, like reasons why I enjoyed that, where I chose that path at that age and to pursue sport. I think I'd love her to give me a little high five and be like, you did it. I don't know if that's the right answer, but that was just kind of how it landed with me, where I was like, I don't know what I would say to her, but I think she could tell me to keep myself in check.
No, I've never thought about restructuring it that way, but there's so much about our younger selves that we could learn from just by like the freedom that they had as a child.
Yeah. Yeah, like, maybe I lost my path once or twice, but, that girl, she was locked in, man. I respect her. She was not to be messed with, and she was as annoying as you could dream of. So, yeah, she was great. Trying to keep her alive.
It's the one thing that people always say, stay young, stay energized, stay who you were. But then there's parts of ourselves that we're like, probably should get rid of that. But the best version of ourselves are like building off of who we were before. Whereas nowadays you find so many people where they disassociate from the person that they were when they were younger. Like, no, new year, new me. That wasn't me. Don't know her.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it takes a lot more, I would say, empathy, but also compassion to think about who you were and then be like, no, that girl was awesome. And now, like, look at who she became, kind of thing.
I think it's like you said, we have things that happen and maybe we hide parts of ourselves. But when you're a kid, you be who you are. And then just continuing that as I get older and not hiding parts of myself or stuff like that. Not that I would say I do it generally, but sometimes you don't realize it and it's just effects of different environments or growing up in different ways. So, yeah, for sure.
You've had some massive career highs and you are such an accomplished athlete. We know every athlete's journey is not linear and there's been some hard times to get through. Over the course of your career, can you pinpoint one or two moments that really changed everything for you? And do you feel as though there was a clear before or and after in your journey?
This is a good question. I think I first made the team and my career started. It was such a different experience because my sport wasn't in the Olympics at the beginning of that. And so the first part of my career was really trailblazing our sport and trying to lead the way for our sport to not only become an Olympic event, but also become legitimate. So I would say going through that process kind of from, 2016 to what was 2021, but up to Tokyo Olympics. That was the most growing and maturing that I've done. I went from this 19-year-old kid to, a 23 or 24-year-old in Tokyo. We put a heavy weight on ourselves to not only get to the Olympics, but to also make sure Canada was on the podium because our country was a major part of the efforts to get that sport and that event into the Olympics. So we carried a lot of that weight through those years. And that whole period and getting to that moment, like when we just had our first race, I think we were both just so emotional at the Olympics in Tokyo, because it was like you'd finally made that, you've crossed that barrier, you've reached equity in a special way. That was like the before and after would have been pre Tokyo when I just made my first team, and then 4 to 5 intense years of building that portfolio as athletes and as a sport. And then after Tokyo, it was a different shift for me, a different mindset leading into Paris with different types of goals and expectations, as so much of our, and a different purpose entirely, because our whole purpose shifted after that. I would say that experience kind of, I think in many ways, changed my perspective on Paris and maybe even moving forward towards LA. But it was definitely an intense journey, but also a rewarding journey. And I mean, something that we were both proud of. And I think our teammates and our families and our community was also incredibly proud that when that moment came that women could canoe at the Olympics, that we were good contenders for that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that's an understatement of the century. I had no idea that you had that on your shoulders going in, to be able to compartmentalize an emotion like that you're carrying all the time and then go and perform like you did, especially, I mean, given the conditions, given everything that was Tokyo, COVID, like talk about overcoming obstacle after obstacle. That is insane. Then after Tokyo, going into Paris, you said things shifted. What happened?
Yes, Laurence, who won a silver in the singles in Tokyo, and we won the bronze together. She retired after Tokyo, which we knew was coming, and because so much of our purpose was centered around this developing the sport and wanting it to become like what it is now. For me, it was just like a purpose shift and trying to redefine that purpose in terms of, okay, what the purpose of Paris? What are we going to try to accomplish? You know, not just in terms of performance and results, but from an emotional perspective of what's my why? Why am I doing this? What's fueling me to do this? And that's when I think it kind of goes back to being that 17-year-old kid where it's just like, I can just go back to just, yeah, I just love doing it, love training, love competing, and just going back to that kind of original raw performance purpose that I think that younger version of myself always wanted, and always wanted to be an Olympian and win medals. So going back, kind of resetting and just being like, yeah, it's I don't have to carry that weight anymore, and that weight was off. And now let's just try to elevate the sport even higher than where Laurence and I left it, and just keep pushing it. And with her retirement too, it also made me more of a leader in our sport and in our team. So just kind of taking on that role a little bit, even though it was natural. But when you become the oldest, it's kind of like a different, like we just talked about my teammate that's literally been alive for as long as I've been doing the sport. So a different perspective on it, but just also, yeah, keeping that perspective as the older athlete and just trying to increase performance and raise ourselves even higher than, and not limiting our potential, I guess is the best way to put it.
How would you describe yourself as the leader on your team when it comes to keeping a level of performance that you want to see those who have come in evolve and rise to, while also training yourself and bettering yourself, while also the every single day nuances of sport like injury prevention, fueling, recovery? Like, how do you take all of those things and then put them either together or separate and bring it to your team every single day? What does that look like for you?
I think the biggest part for me is just leading by example as much as possible, and taking the knowledge we have from, I think we have one of the best coaching staffs in the world. So taking knowledge from experience from people that have done it before you. Like my coach, he's German, but he has 5 Olympic gold medals in canoeing. So the sea of knowledge in his head is, pretty deep. So having that confidence with your coach to be able to have those, yeah, conversations, stuff like that, I think, and tips and tricks, it's a lot of the little details that, every day we just keep applying. And when you get a little bit, yeah, when you're at the point that I'm at in the, more mature end of your career, it's not about getting 5 seconds faster every year. It's about getting half a second faster. So dialing in the little details and, yeah, just trying to lead by example for my teammates, and, setting a bar higher than, just keep raising the bar of, training quality and performance to keep pushing our level. And I think that'll keep us as one of the best teams in the world. And just trying to lead in that way, I think, is how we've approached it more since Tokyo, as I've transitioned from a rookie to a veteran.
Yeah, seriously. That was an awesome answer. and I had no idea your coach was a 5-time gold medalist. Like, to have that kind of knowledge around you, you just like eat it up.
Mhm.
I think it's so special given different cultures around sport in Canada right now. When the team's leading athlete, the head of the team can say, we have the best coaching staff in the world, that should elicit so much confidence in anyone who's thinking about joining canoe kayak, who wants to one day sort of follow in your footsteps. That's huge because there's so many teams that don't have that. And so to hear it from your voice, I think will really resonate with the next generation that it's a good place to go. You're not going to be left floundering around hoping someone can give you guidance. I mean, it's there. And the best part about that is there's proof in the pudding now at 2 Olympic Games. So it's not like a one-off, right? Like you win back to back to back. Like it is just, so there's just no denying it. There's no denying it. And that's the
Exactly.
it's the best value you can place on your own words is just the proof. So cool. Love that. Okay. Getting back into sort of setbacks. So not that you obviously we don't want to double down on setbacks, but when someone's been so good, it's really important to remember that there will be things that come in the way. There will be hurdles, and the best way to get over them is by getting over them. But when you walk away from a race, say you have a really good race or a really bad race, there's going to be emotions and you'll have to process those emotions. And that is the biggest thing that athletes, I think, struggle with after competing. And to get back on the horse and to, keep pushing forward, do you let yourself feel everything in those moments? How do you process the highs and the lows so that tomorrow can be another day for you?
I think for me, it's definitely like kind of a compartmentalize and unpack it later, especially if I'm in multiple events like I was in Paris. So, and at World Championships, I would say I would very strictly, jokingly, sometimes my family calls me strictly business, until at least until after like the competing is done. Like I think every race is an opportunity and it's always a chance. So just, yeah, maybe compartmentalizing a little bit and just ensuring that, like I won a bronze medal in less than 24 hours later. I was on the start line for a semifinal for C1. So it is a bit of a process. We talked about how to approach that situation and the best strategies for me personally and the ways that I can deal with it the best way to make sure that, the last day of the Olympics and the last race of our sport is my best race. That requires a lot of training to be fit enough to handle the load of racing, but also, the mental strength and the mental tools you need to be able to compete day after day. The adrenaline rush of competing at Olympics is unlike anything you'll ever experience. So it's just, that's when you have to manage your emotions in the moment the most. And yeah, I would say it's kind of an unpack it later. In Paris, I won a bronze and the next day won a gold. But in Tokyo, I actually finished 8th in the C1 and I was a bit disappointed in this. Then the next day we hopped in C2 and started our kind of campaign towards the bronze medal. So it kind of goes both ways where it's like, yeah, I'm disappointed maybe in my performance in my C1 in Tokyo. Tomorrow I have an opportunity to get in the boat and with Laurence and kind of change that history for myself. So it goes both ways. And yeah, I would say unpack that with whoever I need to unpack that with, whether that's NPCs or my coach or whatever it is, and then plan next steps from there. So I would definitely say it's compartmentalizes who I am.
As a listener, you have to think about this from a time management perspective and imagine being at the biggest event of your life and you're racing multi events and it's day after day after day after day. And this is you've trained 4 to 8 to 12 years for this. And then the best part about it is anyone who asks anyone is supposed to just say, oh, well, it's just another race. It's still the same distance. It's the same boat. It's the same competitors, but it's the Olympic Games. And so imagine being in a position that you're going to do well. You're going to do well, but you have to perform repeatedly. And that's why the Olympic Games is so unlike any other championship, World Cup, whatever, because people crack and people rise above when they're not supposed to and people fail when they're not supposed to. And it comes down to what happens between both ears is the differentiating factor for so many athletes. And it's wonderful when someone can identify that and can articulate the strengths that they use and how they process that in a very clear way where this might not work for everyone. I wouldn't suggest this for everyone, but this is how I did it and it worked for me. And some people legitimately, I have this opinion that some people go to Olympic Games and do well and they know how they did it, and others do well and they have no idea how they did it. And I feel like that's the difference between the champion. It's when you actually know how you did so well, that's where there's value. And that's where people like you should be talked about and sort of questioned because that's not easy. It takes a lot of work. And like you said, it takes a team. So was there during this process, was there a specific person or a conversation or a mindset shift that helped you navigate through everything, especially at the games?
It's interesting. Like, it's a good question. When we get to the Olympics, we have like our boat bays, and we were actually sharing a boat bay with New Zealand, and New Zealand dominated women's kayak. And if you don't know who Lisa Carrington is, Google her. She's the greatest Olympian of all time, in my opinion, 9 gold medals and a bronze. So she's done her work. I think I had goals and a mindset idea of going in, but I'm good friends with her. Actually, this is her shirt. I'm wearing my New Zealand shirt she gave to me. I would say, like, kind of just watching, like, imagine your hero just being as chill as you can imagine and focused and professional, but also laughing and enjoying the moment. Just watching how much fun she was having at the Paris Olympics. And she won 3 gold medals in 3 real races, which is in her discipline completely unheard of. And she was doing the same thing. And I was like, you know what? It's normal to just want to have fun at the Olympics and enjoy it. And you've trained your whole life for this. And they were having fun and their crews were having fun. And, I was having fun too, but it was, you would think that, someone with so much success, it's like, oh, maybe it's intense enough, but they were professional as you could be, but they were also having fun. And it's kind of aspiring when we talk about our team culture, but it was pretty cool just to be 10 feet away. I gave her a banana before one of her races. So I think that was just like a little thing. It's just like, here's, a friend, a hero, but also like, she went out there and did an incredible job. And yeah, if you saw how she was behaving before that, you would just be like, she was having the best time of her life. And I think that's just the way to approach a big moment like that. And my coach would give me the same type of feedback. And, like I said, he's had so much experience of his own. So it was always great to have him around. But, it's always different when you see an athlete in the moment doing that. And you're like, yeah, I like that. And yeah, I think that was just a little small piece that probably made a bigger difference reflecting back. So I think that's, a good way to approach that big moment, and definitely seeing that by luck of the draw, we were with them. So it was great.
I mean, everything happens for a reason, and Kiwis are built different. Kiwi team to me, I genuinely admire every single one of them because of their I'm pretty sure / I know for a fact they work harder, if not hardest, but they love it. I
Yeah,
don't know if
exactly.
it's their culture, how they were brought up. They love what they do, and it radiates when they race, and it radiates when they train, and it's just so inspiring to watch them operate as an athletic, really small but powerful dynasty that they have, I guess, water sports. It
Yeah.
it must
Rugby and water sports.
water sports, go figure. But through and through, they just have this like calm, cool, but watch out kind of team culture ability thing. So it's wild. Anyway, I digress. So the next lessons that stick with you. So sport teaches us a lot more than just how to win. And hopefully it does teach us how to win, but it teaches us more than just that. If you had to pick one lesson from your journey that continues to guide you in and out of competition, what would it be?
I think one of the biggest, kind of lessons on my journey would kind of just be around like surrounding yourself with the right people, and the people that either have similar goals to you or mindsets or values. I think there's that quote, it's like, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I would say I'm very influenced by my friends, the right people and the right conversations, and just making sure it's continuing to help me grow, and also not just as an athlete, but also as a person on the side. And I think I'm lucky we have great coaches staff, and I would say my coaches are good friends of mine as well beyond sport. But I mean, you know what it's like when you spend every day with people for years, so it's natural. But it's even better when it's not just helping you on the water, but helping you off the water, and helping you become the person that you want to be, and supporting you along your journey, and supporting each other. So I guess that would be something that, as you get older, and just having the right people around you to support you on that.
Yeah, I don't think people will ever understand that when you're around who are your 5 people for so long, they just become family. Like you bicker like brothers and sisters, your mom and dad. It's a little weird, but it's the way it is. And they know
Exactly.
everything about you. They know way too much. And
Way too much.
it is what it is. I'm sorry. But there's this undeniable bond that's created through victory or disappointment when you have those people there
Mhm.
with you along the way, and it makes you into such a whole person that only that experience can give you that kind of internal feeling of warmth or completion, is that you know you're really in this together, even though you're the one out there doing the actual most, but it's such a team effort. But that
Yeah,
being said,
exactly.
so when that's the case, you've dedicated so much of your life to sprint canoe. Has it been worth it? And if it has or hasn't, why?
I think it's a great question. And, it's interesting when you're in it, it's hard to say. And I would say I'm at the point where I have enough to reflect on and old enough to kind of look back on it. And I think the best 10 years of my life so far, I guess, would be, I mean, I've only lived like two and a bit decades. But if you think about the way to live, yeah, your 20s, even of just like, yeah, it's hard and there's, you're growing and I'm gaining life skills and things aren't always easy, but like it's 28 degrees and I'm going to go paddling. Like that's a pretty good job. That's a pretty good day job. I'm in California, like it's hard to complain when you can get that perspective. So I would say it's been worth it. It's been an incredible journey. For me, I'll only be an athlete once, and I've always, like, since I was a little girl, always wanted to be an athlete. If I had one brain cell, it was just sports I ever wanted to do. I think as you get older, you just appreciate it more and you get closer to the end, the moment your career starts, right? So looking back on 2 Olympic Games and everything I've done since I was 19 and on my first teams, and the fun I've had, the friendships I've made, the places I've gone, it's been totally a fun experience. We always say you'll forget your races, but you'll remember that inside joke or that silly memory from a tour. I couldn't tell you what the weather was like, but man, can I tell you that hilarious thing someone did that one time, right? So I think it's those memories that you create and those bonds that kind of go beyond a start line and a finish line. I think those are the best parts as you get older, being more grateful for those opportunities and just, yeah, appreciating each year I continue, just enjoying it more and more because one day it'll end and I'll just want to know that I took the most advantage of the opportunity while we had it. In that sense, I would say it was absolutely worth it. Yeah, I think that's the answer.
I mean, that is the answer, and it's so true. You can think back to so many different regattas and be like, oh, where was that? And then someone will be like, oh, that's when so and so like broke the car. Then we had to return it because
Yeah.
sick. And you're like, don't remember how anyone
Yeah.
did, but damn, they busted that car.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that doesn't quite make it into the news headlines, but man, if people could film the behind the scenes, it'd be hilarious.
Netflix is missing out because there is some stuff that goes down where it's like, what are they doing?
Yeah, they need to get into the niche sports market because it's just so much more insane than they realize.
They just see us go down the track and they're like, oh, that looks easy. And then you like look behind,
Yeah.
like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you look in the boat, you're like, you've duct taped that in there. It's like, yeah, just DIY, man. Got to just do what you got to do.
But that being said, so obviously it doesn't take a genius to figure out and watch. Sprint canoe is a brutal sport. Watching y'all race is, I mean, obviously you make it look smooth. It is grueling. It's a full body, even though you're on one knee, it is a full body power, technical precision, insane endurance. What is one thing that you don't think people will ever really understand that goes into your sport?
Yeah, I think the like truly understanding that it's so highly technical, but also so much power and endurance and precision, like you said, it's hard to explain to someone. They'll try the sport and they're like, oh, yeah, I can stay up. And it's like, okay, but staying up is like 0.1% of the entire process. It's like doing gymnastics for 2 minutes and you're just on a beam and waves are coming at you and wind's coming at you. And like, it's one of those sports that combines so many different areas of fitness that is so much more beyond than, like it's anaerobic, but it's also aerobic. Like you can't be, you have to have both. It's similar to rowing in that sense, but we're a little bit more on the shorter end. So it's highly anaerobic. There's a lot of power involved and a lot of like your first 10 strokes are a difference maker and so are your last 10 strokes and the strategies in between all that. It's everything. That's why I love it, because it is so difficult and it encompasses so many things and it makes the training challenging but also kind of fun and different, and every workout's like a different type of energy system. It takes years to get good at it, and that's why we have so many people on the podium later into their late 20s and early 30s because it takes that much longer to develop the fine tuning of all those skills. Everyone wants to say their sport's the hardest. I'd say my sport's in the top 5. I'm not going to challenge people that want to. I'll say if it's someone's not in someone's top 5, then they can come down and hop in a boat with me and we can try it out.
People like when you're in a sport where a literal stroke, you can spend 5 sessions a week on the first 5 strokes of your entire race. And that is how technical and precise and specific the sport is. The amount of determination and focus that requires, along with being able to get your body to do that while also being told, just go, just do it, don't think. The mind games that our sport plays on us, that your sport plays on you, like there's no room for error. Like one bad stroke, you're gone. Because when you're playing with water, it is the most unforgiving surface. It is moving. You don't play with water. It plays you. And so you have to be connected with everything about what you're doing in order to beat everyone else who may be more connected than you. So there's a lot that goes into it.
You can relate and someone was asking me the other day about, like how you get like world records and stuff. And I go like, sometimes depending on the wind, your race is 30 seconds longer. You have to prepare for the conditions also, which is another factor. And the wind could be coming from the side or in front of you or behind you. And hopefully it's behind you because that makes everyone's day a little bit better. But as you know, when it's a headwind and you're going down a course, imagine if you take like a track athlete and you're like, okay, well, you're a 100-meter sprinter. Okay, now run 15 meters more because it's going to be, 10% longer because of the wind. And it's just like can change an entire competition. Yeah, I think the outdoor water experience totally changes how these things play out when it's a crazy day, which is like another layer on top of just doing the sport.
Yeah. No, and don't get me started on temperature. Like, whew, anyway.
Salt water, we don't need to go there.
So we talked a lot about you as an athlete and you as your accomplishments, but I am interested outside of Katie the athlete. Who is she?
I feel like for me as a person, sport is just like 80% of my identity, and I'm okay with it. I love it. I love sport, not just my sport, any sport. I love the Olympics. I love following everything that's happening in sport right now with the women's leagues and how that whole world is changing. It's been like the best 3 years ever just to see so many things grow into what they are and what the future holds. So I'm very, very happy to say that my life is just sports. But beyond that, like I'm finishing school this year. It took me 10 years to get an undergrad, and just there's not much more to it, which it sounds a little boring, but when you're fully in it, like, as you know, as an athlete, like there's not much more I've got space for. So I'm just going to own where I'm at. And I have teammates and friends that like know what they wanted to do after sport. And I have no idea what I want to do or where I'm starting. So when I finish school, that's like my next project is to like maybe see who I am outside of sport a little bit more. I haven't really explored that, but I'm also very content where I am right now. So that's my answer.
That's such a good answer because I completely agree. The past 3 years for women's sports have been just like, I can't stop cheering. And then you see the immediate benefits of that in the next generation of athletes. And you can't help but smile because you know that their lives are going to be better with sport because you know how much of a difference it made for you, even though there were challenges. The best, in my humble opinion, like the best schooling you can get is through sport. And on top of that, I want to commend you 10 years for undergrad. Trying to balance school and sport is such an ask, especially just given your schedule, given the training. And so it's not a matter of, I'm not going to not do it. It's a matter of, okay, this is my timeline. It is what it is. It'll get done. But sometimes it takes 10 years. Sometimes it takes 20. There's athletes that I know who have gone and changed 14 different degrees and are still working towards it. But just about the fact that you're getting it done, nice. Like that's tough.
You know what? Like it's like you said, it's like you get your schedule at the beginning of a year as an athlete, and when you're at that level, it's just like, okay, what can I even fit in if this is my schedule and where I have to be and when? So taking a little bit less school year over year, but having a bit more time to see friends and family on a weekly basis, like that was better for me in the long term. And I wanted to be an athlete, and leading into Paris, like I had one course left that was only offered this winter, so I could have finished last year in theory, but I was just like, it was too much at the time. So I had to wait a whole another year. So that's why I'm finishing up now. But I decided to do one more year. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So before I even made a decision about, the future in terms of like LA or stuff like that, I was just like, I'll just have 1 year. I'm going to, good or bad, Paris. I was just going to travel a bit, finish school, and enjoy being a bit more at home. I was on the road for the better part of 3 years, centralizing with my team. So got like 3 months at home, and that was great. I have other teammates that have a bit more space for school and are better bouncing, but everyone's different, and just accepting who I was and what I could manage was just the best way to move forward. And you can go to, everyone's invited to my graduation party. Everyone invited. Yeah, no, it's going to be big. Like you think I partied hard for winning an Olympic gold. Wait till I graduate. It's going to be great.
I'm so excited for you. What a monumental moment in your career. What are you graduating in, Katie?
So I am finishing up a kinesiology degree at York University.
Oh, there is an alma mater. She'd be very proud to know.
Yeah, Melissa Humaniparity's dad was my professor also, which was probably cool. He teaches a great class. I love this class. But he was a prof at York.
Yeah, I had no idea he was a prof at York. God, that's so cool. The world is so small. The world is so small.
The world is so small.
No, I like that too. Like the balance aspect is so important because we're in such a perfectionist, do everything at full speed, no matter what. There's so many athletes that I think as soon as they get on the national team, they're like, okay, next, more. And you leave your family and your friends behind because you're pursuing this huge goal that's totally encompassing of every aspect of your life. But you get 4 years down the road and there's nothing left. I mean, good or bad, you're still so empty, right? And you need to remember as a young athlete that they're the ones who helped you get started, and they should be the ones to help you through the entire thing because they're your anchors. They're there right with you. They feel everything you go through. But yeah, so if you could, in your career, if you could relive one moment that is like the defining moment, something that you think about it and you get goosebumps right away, what would that moment be?
I mean, just that moment in Paris when it was a photo finish and Canada came up as first. That next 2 minutes of just craziness in your brain of seeing my coaches, you can't beat that. And we didn't even know how fast it was. And then we saw how fast it was, and it was a world record. There's an Olympic champion here in our sport, and he said it best. He's like, it just gave me so much peace. It gave him peace to win. And the peace that it gave us. And I completely agreed with him. I was like, the peace I feel now, having had that moment, having worked your life for it. And I mean, you're the lucky athlete on the day, as we know, and like there's only one winner, but just the peace it's given me. I'd go back to that moment every day if I could. It was incredible, and my whole family was there, and I had friends fly in and surprise me. So just having like people that were there from beginning parts of my journey, yeah, it was pretty cool. So just that moment to when we bumped into you guys later in the evening, there was an extension of this celebration that scoped our entire Canadian teams. It's the obvious choice, but it's absolutely 100% what I would go back and relive, and had many successes over my career, great races. But yeah, I mean, it's the Olympic Games and it was in Paris and it was the best.
I'm so glad that was the moment because now I can say I had the privilege of bearing witness to the moment, the energy that filled the Canadian cohort that was there. And the fact that it was you who did it too, it was like perfect. And then we went out and you were there. Oh my, it was so good. And it was so cool. And then like the cherry on top of the gold medal, which is an insane sentence to say out loud, was the record. And it's just like, sometimes great things happen to great people. And then you just have to sit back and, like you said, just at peace with the fact that a beautiful thing happened and it can never be erased. No one can ever take that away. No one can ever say it didn't happen because it did. And it wasn't just something that happened. It was something that took over, and it was a feeling, and it was just absolute bliss. And I am so grateful that you brought up that moment because what a beautiful end to such a wonderful campaign, but something that was shared. Like you were in who you are as a person, you were open enough to share that with others. And that I think is really unique as well, because you get champions who are like, yeah, I did this by myself and like, this is all about me. And I'm not going to name names, but they exist. And that wasn't you. You were like, this is my man. Everyone was like, show it to us. Give it to me.
just the fact that I went home with both medals in my pocket, I was like, oh, there was like 6 body checks of like, there's 1, there's 2, okay, good, we've got them. Like, I would do that. I'd just be like, yeah, sure, look at this, and then just like walk away.
Yeah,
Which I've
yeah, no,
done before. So, yeah, no, it's just I was like, got home, was like, there's the gold, there's bronze. Okay, all right, I have an hour to pack before the bus gets here.
yeah. I mean, it is such a craze to be the champion and then walking around with it, and then you're just probably on a high that you're like, where is it again? Well, I mean, I could ask what's next. I think we touched on it, but let's go this summer. Okay, what's next for you? Where do you see yourself this summer after the summer you just had?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think it's something that we've talked about a lot as a team. So over the last couple months, the first goal was just to enjoy life after Paris and say yes to everything that came my way and just enjoy that. And back at training camp now for the first our first camp since Paris, our first time together. It's been really just trying to just have a bit of a lower stress year, lower expectations on any performances or outcomes. Just train really hard, stay in good fitness. Our worlds are in Milan in August, so that's going to be a lot of fun. My first senior worlds were actually in Milan in 2015. So 10 years later, 7th or 8th world championships in Milan. So just going back there, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun to kind of relive and see where we'll be able to reflect on, my first races there and where we're at now, not just individually, but as a sport. So I think it's just a matter of having fun. And if we're going to talk about the future in the next 3 years, like this year is like I think a lot of athletes that I've talked to felt that way, especially after Tokyo, not really getting a proper moment to sort of pause and reflect just with the shorter transition and still managing just like the pandemic residual recovery of that. So taking the year to truly low stress, enjoy training, have fun. It's just about building into the future versus keeping a high bars. Maybe someone like Summer McIntosh who's 15, 17 is just sort of reaching her peak. But, for me, it's just, yeah, have fun this year, enjoy the experience, enjoy back on tour, uh, and, kind of reassess next fall and set, maybe some more specific goals leading into, this next year and the years after that. Yeah. And finishing school. That's the biggest thing. I need to pass this class. Yeah. 50% plus. We just need to get through this.
Just 51%. That's all you need.
Yeah, exactly. I got 67 on the first exam and I was over the moon. It's
Perfect.
physiology. It's hard.
No.
So it's a lot of work, but I was pumped. I was yes, I'm clearing the bar.
Meet all expectations. Absolutely.
Yeah. My GPA is fine. I just need to get through this. So huge party in June.
We know
Keep
you
it in
can
the
do
calendar. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. If there was a test on canoeing, I'd do great, but respiratory function's a whole other universe.
Pitch it to him. Be like, look, I use the respiratory function in canoeing. Hear me out.
Yeah, exactly.
If only they knew.
Okay.
The last part of this, and then we'll wrap up because we've used so much of your time and we're so grateful. There are just a couple fun little questions. One of them is pump up songs. I would ask you to go on Spotify and check them out. But before that, do you have 2 or 3 songs right now that are just on repeat in your head and you listen to them every single day, like earworm status?
I like music, but I was talking to my younger teammates that I recently, I'm so bad with pronunciating, Chappelle Roan. That's somebody?
Yes!
I said it. I just discovered it. I went up to my Gen Z teammates and called her Chapel Roan and just been obliterated since then. So, but I don't know if my Spotify is a reflection of what I just listened to gym play, the kind of curated playlist and just it's in the gym, kind of this vibe, or if I'm driving to school, it's this vibe kind of a thing. So I'm pretty all over the place with my specific music choices.
Chappelle Roan. She is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in with it. Yeah.
I'm one of the kids.
What's up.
What can you say?
Yeah, I'm one of the kids. Yeah.
For sure.
Pink Pony Club. Phenomenon on.
Yeah, they've taken over. I'm here for it.
They're fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. When you need an extra push, is there another moment, maybe a smaller moment, not so, life-defining moment that you're like, oh yeah, I can do anything?
I think it's not necessarily a moment. It's more just when you're having like that tougher time, it's like, okay, what's my alternative? And if it's, I'm not ready to sit in an office or at a computer all day working, I'm living a good life if my job is to paddle on a river in warm places year round. So I would say that's kind of my grounding moment to anchor me into when things get tough. I could be on a laptop all day in a room, or I could go paddling twice a day. No offense.
At the same time, Katie, people who are working 9 to 5, there's no judgment here. There's a safe space. But some people really like the 9 and 5, and that's okay. See, it's
That's
something for
okay.
everyone. Have at it.
There's something for everyone.
Exactly.
I feel I have like a very high energy, so it's like sports actually great for me because like if I'm taking too much time off, I need the structure of sport, like of physical activity every day, or if I take too many days off, I get a little bit twitchy, right? Like I've lost it, like I gotta get back into it.
Yeah, you have days off and you're just like, I can't actually.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Even if it's like I have to do like a 20-minute run just to get the blood going if I've taken too many days off.
Okay. Last question of the interview. Who is one athlete or person who has inspired you the most throughout your entire career?
I grew up, I guess, like for me, the most kind of influential Olympics for me would have been London. And in London, we had Adam and Coubertin win his fourth medal, his silver in the 1,000, and Mark Aldershaw and Mark Young with won bronze in their respective events. So I would say in different ways, the three of them have definitely inspired me. And like that was 2012, and then in 2015 it was my first senior team, and they had all continued to that point. So I actually got to be on the team with them for 2 years, and that was the coolest experience when you get to sit down with them. And they're all very different athletes, but all three of them are also successful and have been great mentors and cheered me on throughout my career behind the scenes. You know, obviously Adam's still kind of involved in his own way as is a politician, but yeah, they're a sea of knowledge. I think just having seen them grow up through our system and in the Canadian way they did it, I think that kind of inspired me to follow in their footsteps. And as a woman, wanting to have that female on the podium for our next generation to also see that, you know, it's not just they're great guys. I love them, but we had to get some women up there. You know, we had to be up there. So yeah, that was that was important, and they love that, and they've been great to watch as an athlete. And then yeah, conversations here and there over the couple of years that have helped me get there as well.
Yeah, outstanding. I mean, that's awesome. They're also so supportive because sometimes that's rare. And again, that speaks to the character that are in niche sports, canoe kayak specifically, just having those people that can come back, those athletes, those champions that can come back and say, you want to do it? Great. Here's what I learned. Here's some lessons. Like, let me help you and go and do the best you can, which is awesome. So that's it for the interview. I want to say a huge thank you again. I am a huge fan of you, and I wrote this down and I'm going to say it out
Thank
loud.
you.
I hope it's not weird, but honest to God, if I had a daughter, when I have a daughter, I really do hope that she has your ability to love the sport that you're in, but want it for a bigger purpose. And that speaks so much more to your character than people who obviously you want it for yourself, but to legitimately say, like, I want to get a podium position for the next generation. That's the person that I would like to see in sport and doing well in sport. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for driving it home. And I really appreciate your time. Before we close out, is there anything that you want to say to anyone or any last parting words of wisdom?
No, just thank you for having me. And yeah, those are very kind words. So you made my day. So thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And yeah, like go women's sports. You know?
Heck yeah.
I can think of no better way than to end that by Katie saying go women's sports. That is exactly how this conversation should end. Can't thank Katie enough for her time. We actually recorded this conversation a couple months ago and it took us a hot minute to edit it. So thank you for your patience, Katie. We're so happy we can finally get this out and share with all of your friends and your family and our friends and our families, because it's a conversation that I hope everyone can listen and enjoy and have as much fun as we did recording it. We love recording these podcasts. We love conversations like this. And to end, we'll say thank you, Katie, and we'll talk to you all later.